Greetings, all you readers. It's Moosey Monday. With being Monday, I have a moose story for you. It's called Moosetache. Have you ever heard it before? If you've got it, go and get it so you can look at it while I'm reading. Here's the story of Moosetache. Moose had a problem, a horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A moosetache. Whoa. That is a big moosetache. Now, not a few spare hairs or a shy little stubble, no mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No siree. Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty moosetache. But a moosetache that was burly and surly and a mangy mess. Ooh, and it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked it, and he tweaked it. He even clipped it and snipped it and teased it. But his comb were still cowards, and his brushes rebelled, and his scissors simply surrendered. Well, ready to put up the white flag. We give up. That mustache is too much for us. So Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The mustache was completely cramping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely bop and hip-hop with a mustache going flip-flop. Oh dear. He loved to dance, but he got caught up in his mustache. Oh dear. He was a wonderful chef too, but he simply could not flambe his souffle with all these whiskers in the way. Oh dear, no way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with this mighty mustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? You have an idea what he could do? After days and days of serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crisscrossed some hairs here, and he crisscrossed hair there, and he tied his mustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. A moose scarf. But then his mustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled, and those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled, and worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that mustache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied, unwrapped, unknotted, and gulped in some fresh air. That wasn't the thing to do. He got another idea. He parted some of his hair this way, and he parted some hair that way, and he heaped all that mustache on top of his head. Mustachioed antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, until a squadron of squirrels and one very noisy gopher moved right into the Moose Hotel. They huddled and hoarded and furrowed in and burrowed out. Needless to say, it was quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. Oh dear. You see all the squirrels and the gopher? living up there on his head? Yikes. And very, very noisy. The squirrels chitted and chatted, squealed and squawked, and woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And the gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed some sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Mustachioed antlers? Nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and unpiled and untwisted and untwined and said adios to those hairy horns. That wasn't the thing to do either. But now what? This miserable moose took hold of a hunk of hair and he wrestled it, then roped it, and tethered and tied and tamed it. Aha! A moose tail. Now, that was so simple. That was so easy. That was not so perfectly perfect. Oh, dear. Talk about dizzy-do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backwards, forwards, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. That was not a good idea either. What should he do now? And so he thought and thought and thought some more. But no other idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother. A moustache sweater was too sweltering. Net? Not. Poor Moose, his problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. He felt so alone, he didn't know what else to do. Oh, golly. Poor Moose. Then, call it fate, call it destiny. It was probably dumb luck. But one day, Moose tripped on his moustache and just had no time to duck. Oomph! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped. Then they blinked and they stared and their hearts went thump-a-thump. She was a moose with a bouffant so bodacious, outrageous, and well, it was just plain old big. Hair after hair piled higher than high, a skyscraping dew of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely absurd. She was superb. Hooray! Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a dew. Miss Moose winked, then whispered, just a little glue. So she helped him fearlessly plunge a hoof into a fat pot of white gooey goop. And carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped and they plopped, they pasted and they pressed, and they coaxed it and curled every truly unruly, wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangy mess was now a wondrous, winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and he smiled a broad moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, so giddy with glee. He looked dashing and handsome. He gushed, is that really me? Wait till you see him. With not a care for one hair, the pair boogied and bopped. They skied downhill, even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. Look at his mustache. They used glue. So, of course, it wasn't long after Moose and his Moosetache and his beautiful bride foxtrotted and tangoed and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days, they vowed to love and to cherish. And with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do glue," and promised never to part. Look at his mustache. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, and it stuck. There, Niagara Falls. Ah, they got a couple of little moose babies. It's called Moosetache. So I hope if you're having trouble keeping your Moosetache in place, just remember a little glue does a wonderful thing. Have a great day. Love you. Bye-bye.